I was talking to the gallery director the other day, and they're like, Beau, you have the most digestible work in the gallery. It's like very friendly. It's something that everyone can kind of understand or appreciate, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, today on Creative Juices, we have Beau Frank. I've been following him on TikTok for a long time now and decided it was time that we met and find out a little bit more about him. So, Beau, welcome to Creative Juices.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, your history of your art.
Yeah. I mean, art was always something that I really enjoyed doing as a kid, and up until only recently, it was mostly just a hobby or a side passion. Um, I think I didn't start taking it into like a level of professionalism until about 2015 when I had some health issues, and that gave me like a break in my schedule where I could just sit down and paint and make art projects instead of going to work every day. So even though I had these health issues, it ended up being a really great thing because it pivoted me into the direction of wanting to pursue painting and being a professional artist. So I'm a self-taught artist. I grew up on just drawing and sketching and markers and pencils, and then eventually graduated into watercolors, found my way into oil paints back in like 2012. And then once I met oil paints, I was like, yes, that's the one. This is my medium. And now I get to paint all day.
Nice. Yeah, same thing happened for me. Once I got into oil, it's like, forget it.
I didn't go to college, so I was like, okay, well, what do I do if I don't go to college? I should probably work. So I started working in restaurants, and I just like work in restaurants, do double shifts, cover as many shifts as possible, save up as much money as possible, and then I'd quit my job, and then I'd go travel Europe for 3, 4 months at a time. Had a really great time doing that up until it wasn't sustainable anymore. When I discovered painting, I was like, yes, like this is what I want to do all the time. But then I was like, how do I fund this? So I was like, well, I might as well just like keep working in restaurants and doing that in the meantime, and then spend as much of my free time working on art and trying to figure out how to create a lifestyle and create a business around it.
So, are you represented by art galleries?
I started getting work representation in 2016 with a gallery in Australia called 19 Karen Gallery. So we've been working together for the last, 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know how time goes by so fast. And I have a show with them in July. And then about a year ago, I started getting work represented through a gallery in Carmel called Gallery Mar. And so I had my first solo show with them last year. I brought in 30 pieces for that show and ended up selling 25. So they're like, well, Beau, let's just have a yearly solo show for you. So I have another solo show this year with them in June. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, your pieces are very viable.
I was talking to the gallery director the other day, and they're like, Beau, you have the most digestible work in the gallery. It's like very friendly. It's something that everyone can kind of understand or appreciate, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
guess it's like vanilla, but like it tastes good. So
Hey, vanilla is good.
yeah.
Your favorite subject, your waves, or what do you really enjoy doing? If you could do anything.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm still trying to figure out, or I kind of just go where I feel like it. I think when I first started out, I didn't really have a sense of direction or a vision of what kind of work I wanted to make. So I just started working in series, and I did this one series, which was the Off the Grid collection of portraits with landscapes. And I did that for like 4 or 5 years, and that became like my trademark. And then I was like, I don't really want to only be known for this thing. Like, I don't want to have to paint this for the rest of my life. So then I started dabbling with landscapes, and I spent quite a while doing just landscapes. And then I realized like I kind of want to experiment playing with water. I was always really intimidated with it. So I started doing these seascapes, fell in love with painting seascapes, and I found it kind of this like in between an abstract and realism sense of style. And once I started doing that, I just couldn't stop. But now I'm kind of in the process of trying to figure out what my next step is, what kind of things I want to experiment with. I don't necessarily have to stick to just one category, one subject matter. And so right now I'm like, well, I have like 4 or 5 ideas of series that I want to work on where I can really explore them in depth over the course of maybe 5 or 10 paintings. Um, and still have it still maintain that sense where it's like this is still very much my style and my work. Right now I'm looking towards vegetation. I'm looking towards green. Green was all this color that I hated. So I was like, well, why do I hate this color so much? Like, I think there's a big range of greens out there. And I was like, well, maybe there's some shades of green that I really do love. So right now, I think I'm going to focus more on like trees, vegetation, florals, plants, and still try to paint it with the same aesthetics of how I paint waves.
So you said you're self-educated. Describe what that means.
Yeah, when I was supposed to be paying attention in class, I was not, and so I would just like draw in the sidelines and draw in my sketchbooks. And I used to go to like Borders when they were around, and I would just like go to the comic section and I just like sketch all these comic book characters, and that's kind of how I learned how to draw anatomy and understand shading and line work and composition. And then when I was in Italy, I tried painting for the first time back in 2012. I took an art class because I had no understanding of what tools I needed. I didn't know what a medium was. I've never used a brush before. I'd always just had like color pencils where you see the color you're going to use and where it is, and then you see where it goes. With a brush, it was like, this has no color to it. Like it doesn't even have a size. Like, how do I create, these paintings or these ideas? So I took this class and I dropped out after 2 weeks because I hated it. But after those 2 weeks, I knew I needed a medium, so I got linseed oil. I knew what brushes I needed. I realized I needed to have like a gessoed canvas to paint on because paints were toxic. So I just went to my local art shop, bought a bunch of art materials, and started painting at my apartment there. And I made some really terrible paintings, but it got me painting, and so I just like kept painting and learning what I was doing, and kind of just observing what other artists were doing online. Because at this point, I was posting a lot on like Tumblr and Instagram, and I basically just learned by observing what other artists were doing and trying to imitate them, and then applying it to like interests and subject matter that I liked.
Why TikTok?
Honestly, I just joined TikTok probably about less than a year ago.
Okay.
I'm definitely an Instagram person through and through. I think that's where I first started out, back in like 2012, 2013. I was so against TikTok for so long because at first I thought it was just like people doing TikTok dances, and I thought it was people doing these like lip syncing videos and just being really dramatic and like very like sexual in nature. And I was like, that's just not for me. And then I was finally convinced by a friend. They're like, it's so funny. It's kind of like Vine, this other app that happened not too long ago, and people are really creative. So I joined on, and then I realized that there was definitely all those things that I was avoiding, but then there was this other side of it that was so much more fun and engaging, and less so about like image and trying to put on like a show. It was more just like, I just want to have fun. This is more my authentic self. Anyway, thank you so much for the interview.
Right.
Thanks for reaching out, and looking forward to this coming out.
Well, great. Well, go create paint.
Sounds good. You too. Likewise.
All right. Take care, sir.